We're taking this, 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 we're taking with a pinch of salt.
Dear colleagues, welcome to A Pinch of Salt, a series of podcasts produced by the ERA. I'm George Kosmadakis, a nephrologist from France, and the subject today is diet and hyperkalemia. The paradigm of hyperkalemia treatment has changed lately. We know that in a lot of our patients, serum potassium increasing treatments, such as renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system inhibitors, as well as the older and newer mineralocorticoid receptor antagonists, are offering important nephroprotective effects. Apart from the potassium binders, the discussion was turning on the suppression of fruits and vegetables. Intercurrent constipation and a few newer studies on the matter has challenged the older dietetic strategies. In today's podcast, we have a celebrity renal dietitian, an active member of the European Renal Nutrition Group, Alice Sabatino. She is coming today from the Department of Clinical Science, Intervention and Technology, Karolinska Institute, Stockholm, Sweden. Alice, welcome to the Pinch of Salt.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George, for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here.
Well, you are a celebrity, as I said. We have seen you in all congresses, a lot of seminars. You are a very active member of the European Nutrition Group, Renal Nutrition Group. And we think that you would be a wonderful candidate to help us a little bit about these things that have changed about the dietetic treatment of hyperkalemia.
Hopefully I can help.
Yeah, and I will straight away start with the first question. What is the diet treatment paradigm of hyperkalemia these days?
So, George, as you well mentioned at the beginning, the dietetic approach to hyperkalemia in CKD is changing nowadays, but not as fast as I think it should. Unfortunately, still many clinicians are recommending the limitations of fruits and vegetables to treat hyperkalemia. But when we talk about dietary changes to treat hyperkalemia nowadays, we should focus more on nutrient bioaccessibility. That means how much of the nutrient intake is really going to be absorbed and contribute to hyperkalemia. And what are the other factors present in food that might influence this process? And for example, one factor is the presence of fiber in fruits and vegetables that reduce the absorption of minerals. And another factor is the presence of basic compounds that will help to correct acidosis and that will also have a positive impact on hyperkalemia. So thinking about that, the focus now would be on eating more natural and fresh foods while limiting the intake of ultra-processed food. Because ultra-processed foods have a great potential in promoting or worsening hyperkalemia. They are often a source of inorganic potassium because they are present in the additives, which is highly accessible. Almost 90% of the inorganic potassium can be absorbed by the gut. And also, they usually don't have fiber or other bioactive compounds that could help prevent hyperkalemia. So I think that's very important to change the focus on dietary treatment of hyperkalemia and focus more in limiting ultra-processed foods.
Right. So you mentioned some issues that are very important and not very commonly discussed in the nephrology circles, like the nutrient bioaccessibility. Of course, we have heard about the presence of fibers and basic components, but what is new to me today is that after discussing about inorganic phosphate, we now discuss about inorganic potassium, which has the same deleterious effects concerning hyperkalemia with ultra-processed foods for the kidney patients. This is extremely interesting.
Yes. Yes, it is. And we should think about that because we always tell our patients you should not have dietetic salt because it's potassium salt, right? And we know that this increases serum potassium, but we don't think about the potassium that is present in additives in the ultra-processed foods, and it has the same, it works in the same way.
Of course, of course. So from what you say, we can consider that the dietetic interventions might be considered an integral part of hyperkalemia treatment today.
Yeah, I for sure think that dietetic interventions are still an integral part of the hyperkalemia treatment. But as mentioned before, shifting the focus from fruits and vegetables, there are natural sources of potassium, to other sources, such as limiting the ultra-processed food consumption. We can also use the dietetic counseling that is part of this intervention to teach patients about portion size of potassium-rich fruits and vegetables and nuts, and how to use different cooking methods to reduce the amount of potassium without turning vegetables in unpalatable foods. But it's important to stimulate the intake of healthy foods and plant sources of protein that will provide, as said, other beneficial components such as fiber and other bioactive compounds. And it will also help to treat metabolic acidosis, as we know, an important risk factor for hyperkalemia. It's interesting that we always focused on fruits and vegetables as sources of potassium, when meat can also be a very high source of potassium, but without the benefits of the plant food, because they don't have fiber and they actually promote metabolic acidosis instead of preventing it.
Right. So everything is hidden behind the word balance, and so I understood ultra processed food is bad in any case. There is a huge discussion about it in everywhere, even in non-medical sites. During the last period, you talked about fibers, but what about constipation and hyperkalemia?
So we know that physiologically, in their physiological circumstances, dietary potassium will be absorbed mostly in the small intestine, and while 90% of it is excreted by the kidneys, 10% will leave the body in the feces, because there are BK channels in the intestine that will secrete potassium from the blood to the intestine, and it will be secreted with the feces. In our patients with reduced renal function, there is an increase in the intestinal excretion of potassium by increasing the expression of the BK channels in the gut. When the patients experience constipation, they have an increase in the absorption of potassium because of the slow transit time, and consequently, they will have an increased risk of hyperkalemia. On the other hand, regular intestinal function may help to prevent it. There was a study published in Journal American Society of Nephrology in 2021 that was investigating laxative use in patients with dyskalemia in more than 36,000 patients with end-stage kidney disease in the US. And this paper showed that when they used laxative to improve intestinal transit time, patients had a lower risk of hyperkalemia, because you have less time for the potassium to be absorbed. And also the potassium that you are secreting in the lumen will not be absorbed again. It shows that the older strategies for treating hyperkalemia, that's removing fruits and vegetables, were actually potentially making it worse, because the foods that we were eliminating are the ones that help with constipation.
Of course, and we shouldn't forget that when we talk about potassium binders, they are not really potassium binders; they are potassium exchangers.
Exchangers, yes.
And this exchange is reversible, and after a few hours, the potassium that was absorbed by the exchangers or the binders,
secreted,
it is resecreted if it is not eliminated from the intestine. So the people are taking potassium binders for the hyperkalemia. These potassium binders potentially provoke constipation, and finally they are found with constipation plus hyperkalemia due to the inefficacy of these binders. So
yeah.
So the fibers are critical in this situation, and probably
Yes.
an active treatment of the constipation for the patients, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. It's important that the patients have intake of fruits and vegetables and also some whole grain foods to maintain a healthy intestinal function.
Function,
So
yeah.
we can, even if the patient has to have the potassium exchangers, it they will not suffer so much with the constipation and potential negative consequences of those binders if they are not having a healthy diet together.
Yes, healthy diet and try to stay away from the ultra processed food.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Alice, we are discussing a lot lately about the new treatments for chronic kidney disease. Like we have a particular interest for the new mineralocorticoid antagonists, and we are more and more convinced about the potentially beneficial effects of RAAS inhibitors concerning the nephroprotection and cardioprotection of the patients. Do we have any change in the long-term prevalence of hyperkalemia in the era of newer treatment options and strategies?
Um, so I think that you're talking about the new treatments for like the mineralocorticoids or RAAS, or you're talking about the binders to control potential hyperkalemia.
No, I'm talking about uh, the treatment options for chronic kidney disease that
Ah,
might
okay.
provoke hyperkalemia.
Um, in my opinion, I don't think we will have a higher prevalence of hyperkalemia if we are with because now we have those potential potassium exchangers not to control hyperkalemia, and as we were mentioned before, we've combined then with a healthy diet, patients might as well be able to maintain the optimal dosage of their drugs to protect from TKD. In fact, we have from KI, Carla Vesani has recently published in American Journal of Clinical Nutrition a feasibility study in which patients were taking potassium exchangers, sodium zirconium cyclosilicate, to treat hyperkalemia and were consuming a plant-based diet rich in potassium with 3,700 milligrams of potassium.
Right.
And during this treatment, they had hyperkalemia before the starting of the study, so they were taking already the binders. And
Yeah.
during this treatment, even though they had a very high potassium intake, all patients were able to maintain their optimal dosage of RAAS inhibitors. So I think that if we are able to maintain a healthy gut working well, and if necessary, use the new generations of potassium exchangers, we will be able to maintain the use of those potential beneficial drugs, as well preventing dangerous hyperkalemia in patients.
Right. So we should start liberate ourselves from this notion of fruit and vegetables because probably it was a wrong strategy for the treatment. Alice, now I will get to know you personal question, which is by most guests the most difficult one. And this
Yes, it
is,
is.
if you were in a desert island, which book, luxury item, and two songs would you take with you?
It was very hard actually because to choose only one book is already something that's very hard.
We'll offer
So
you just for you two books.
no, I chose one because
You
it's that
chose?
one. So I chose a novel called Violet from Isabel Allende, which I read not so recently, but I'm willing to read it again. So I said that, oh, that's a good book to choose. The
Violet.
luxury item would not be a thing, would actually be a special person because a desert island is not fun if you are there alone,
Right?
right? So no thing would replace a special person. And two songs.
So, without definition, a special person.
A special person without definition, because then
Yeah, okay.
two songs. One would be Dreams from the Cranberries, and another one would be Uprising from Muse.
Mu- I love Muse. I love.
You see,
So
it's
perfect.
good choices. Good
Good
choices
choices.
then.
We'll do a playlist at the end of the year with all the choices
Okay.
of our guests. So you might listen to.
Ah,
You will
nice. I
listen.
would
You will
love
listen
to
to the choice.
listen. Yes.
And
When I travel to my desert island.
yes, and the playlist of 2024 is available in YouTube for those who want to listen to it. Very interesting.
Nice that you do it. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I will look for it. So I
So
did good choices.
thank you so much, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It was very interesting, very fun.
Dear colleagues, I will finish this podcast with a recommendation. Check out the cookbook in the patient information page of the ERA site where Alice has actively worked. Me personally, I tried the mushroom crepe and they were delicious.
Good that you tried.
In the same ERA site, but also in all digital platforms, you have access to all Pitch of Salt podcasts, as well as I said before, to the 2024 playlist of songs chosen by our guest, an excellent playlist. So, dear colleagues, dear friends, take care of yourselves. Bye.